My own son looked me straight in the eyes and said, "Mom, if you're not willing to babysit every day, maybe it's time you found somewhere else to live." I smiled. I didn't argue. I simply walked upstairs, opened my closet, and started packing my suitcase. What happened after I left changed their family forever. If you enjoy emotional family dramas with shocking twists, betrayal, and satisfying endings, subscribe now, because this story proves that sometimes walking away is the strongest answer of all. My name is Margaret. I'm 65 years ago. My husband passed away after 40 years of marriage. Losing him broke me. When my son Daniel insisted I move into his house, I truly believed I wasn't gaining a new place to live. I was gaining a family. Daniel hugged me tightly. "Mom, you'll never be alone again." Those words, something inside me. At first, everything felt wonderful. My daughter-in-law, Emily, welcomed me warmly. My 2 grandchildren ran into my arms every afternoon. I cooked dinner, read bedtime stories, helped with homework. I did those things because I loved them, not because anyone asked me to. But little by little, something changed. Emily stopped saying, "Could you?" Instead, she started saying, "I need you to, then you'll have to." Soon, every weekday became exactly the same. 6 in the morning, Emily woke me up. "Can you get the kids ready? 7:30, walk them to school, pick them up, cook dinner, clean the kitchen, fold laundry, stay with the kids until bedtime." Meanwhile, Emily met friends, went shopping, visited the spa. Daniel stayed late at work. When he came home, he always looked exhausted. And because he was tired, he never noticed how exhausted I had become. Months passed. I wasn't treated like Daniel's mother anymore. I had quietly become the family's unpaid babysitter. One Friday evening, I finally gathered enough courage. "Emily, I'd like to spend Tuesdays at the senior center. They have painting classes. I've always wanted to try." She didn't even look up from her phone. "Who's going to watch the kids?" I smiled gently. "Maybe just one afternoon a week." She sighed dramatically. "Margaret, we have responsibilities. Painting can wait." For the first time, I realized something painful. Nobody had asked what I wanted. Not once. The following week, I caught Emily talking on the phone. She laughed. "My mother-in-law practically raises the kids. Free childcare is amazing." They both laughed. I stood silently in the hallway, my heart shattered. Not because she called me a babysitter, but because she actually believed it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at an old family photograph of my husband. He always used to tell me, "Never let anyone mistake your kindness for obligation." I whispered into the darkness, "I think I forgot your advice." I had no idea. The hardest conversation of my life was waiting just a few days away. Monday morning, everything started like any other day. I made breakfast, packed the children's lunches, walked them to the school bus. When I came back, Emily was sitting at the kitchen table with her laptop. She didn't even say good morning. Instead, she slid a sheet of paper across the table. "I've made a new schedule." I looked down. Every single hour of my week had been planned. School pickups, homework, cooking, laundry, weekend babysitting, even Friday nights. I looked at her quietly. "When exactly do I get time for myself?" Emily shrugged. "You're retired. You have plenty of free time." Those words hit me harder than she realized. Retired. Not retired from life. Not retired from being human. That evening, Daniel finally came home. I decided it was time. "Daniel, we need to talk." He smiled tiredly. "Can it wait?" "No, it can't." Emily folded her arms. I took a deep breath. "I love helping with the children, but I can't do this every single day anymore. I'd like at least 2 days a week for myself." Daniel looked surprised. Emily rolled her eyes. "Oh, here we go." Daniel looked between us. "Mom, Emily and I both work. We really need your help." I nodded. "I understand. But I'm not asking to stop helping. I'm asking for balance." Emily laughed. "Balance? We're the ones paying the mortgage. We're the ones working. The least you can do is help." The room fell silent. I looked directly at Daniel. "Do you agree with that?" He hesitated. Then, he said the words I'll never forget. "Mom, if living here means everyone contributes, then yes." I felt my heart sink. Emily leaned back in her chair, then came the ultimatum. "If you don't want to babysit, maybe this isn't the right house for you." Daniel didn't interrupt her, didn't defend me, didn't even look shocked. Instead, he quietly said, "We're just asking you to be part of the family." I smiled. "Part of the family? Families don't give ultimatums. Employers do." Without saying another word, I stood up, walked upstairs, opened my bedroom door, pulled my old brown suitcase from the closet. For years, that suitcase had collected dust. Today, it finally had a purpose. I carefully folded my clothes, packed my husband's photograph, his wedding ring, my painting supplies I'd never been allowed to use, and one small notebook. Inside it were every pension payment and savings account I had quietly kept over the years. Nobody in that house knew. I wasn't financially dependent on them, not even Daniel. Half an hour later, I carried my suitcase downstairs. The children looked confused. "Grandma, are you going somewhere?" I smiled and kissed their foreheads. "Just on a little adventure." Emily crossed her arms. "So you're really leaving?" I nodded calmly. "Yes." She looked almost satisfied. Daniel still believed I'd changed my mind. "Mom, don't be dramatic. I'll cool off. You'll cool off. And tomorrow everything will go back to normal." I smiled gently. "No, Daniel, it won't." I walked to the front door, then stopped. Without turning around, I quietly said, "I came here because I thought you wanted your mother. It turns out, you only wanted a babysitter." Silence filled the room. No one answered, because deep down, they knew it was true. I stepped outside, closed the front door behind me. For the first time in years, I felt something unexpected. Freedom. Not loneliness, not fear. Freedom. I placed my suitcase in the trunk of my car, started the engine, and drove away. Watching their house disappear in the rearview mirror, I wasn't crying. I was finally breathing. What Daniel and Emily didn't realize was that they hadn't just lost their babysitter, they had lost the one person holding their entire household together, and they were about to find out just how much they had taken me for granted. The first week after I left, Daniel didn't call. Neither did Emily. I wasn't surprised. They believed I'd return. After all, where else would an elderly woman go? What they didn't know was that my husband and I had planned for retirement decades earlier. I wasn't homeless. I wasn't helpless. I had my own savings, a small lakeside apartment we'd bought years ago as an investment. For the first time in years, it finally became my home. Every morning, I drank coffee on my balcony, painted landscapes, read books, met wonderful friends at the senior center. I laughed again. Not because my life had become perfect, but because it had become mine again. For the first time in years, no one expected anything from me, and it felt beautiful. Meanwhile, back at Daniel's house, reality arrived much faster than anyone expected. Emily had to wake up early to prepare the children. School lunches weren't packed. Laundry piled up. The kitchen stayed messy. The children constantly asked, "When is Grandma coming home?" Emily tried hiring a babysitter. The cost shocked her. Then came after-school care, weekend childcare, house cleaning. Within 1 month, their monthly expenses had nearly doubled. The free babysitter they had taken for granted turned out to be worth thousands of dollars every month. One evening, Daniel sat alone at the dining table. The house was unusually quiet. He looked at the empty chair where I always sat. Only then did he realize it had never been about babysitting. It had been about love. And he had mistaken love for obligation. 3 weeks later, my phone rang. It was Daniel. For a moment, I simply looked at the screen, then I answered. "Hello?" His voice was softer than I remembered. "Mom, I miss you." I smiled sadly. "I miss you too." There was a long silence. Then he quietly asked, "Would you come back?" I gently replied. "Why?" He hesitated. "The kids miss you." I waited. Nothing else came. I softly asked, "And you?" Another silence. Finally, "I miss my mom." Those words were different. The following Sunday, Daniel came to visit my apartment. He walked inside, looked around, the paintings, the flowers on the balcony, the smile on my face. For the first time, he saw something he hadn't seen in years. His mother, happy, he whispered. "I didn't realize how much you'd given up." I smiled. "Neither did I." He lowered his head. "I'm sorry. I let Emily make all the decisions. I should have protected you. I should have listened." Tears filled his eyes. "I failed you." I reached across the table and held his hand. "We all make mistakes. The important part is whether we learn from them." A few minutes later, Emily knocked on my apartment door. She looked nervous, nothing like the confident woman who had given me an ultimatum. She quietly said, "Margaret, I owe you an apology. I treated you like an employee. When you were family, I thought your kindness was something I deserved. I was wrong." For a moment, no one spoke. Then I smiled. "Thank you." Sometimes a sincere apology is worth more than 1,000 excuses. Months later, things were very different. I visited my grandchildren every Saturday, not because I had to, because I wanted to. Daniel and Emily never demanded my time again. They always asked, And if I already had plans, they respected my answer. The children still loved spending time with Grandma, but now it was a gift, not an expectation. One evening, my oldest granddaughter hugged me tightly. She whispered, "Grandma, I'm happy you have your own home. So now when you visit, I know it's because you want to be here." I smiled through tears. Children sometimes understand respect better than adults. Today, my relationship with Daniel is stronger than ever, not because we forgot what happened, because we faced it honestly. He finally understood. Parents spend their entire lives giving. But even parents deserve dignity, freedom, and a life of their own, because love should never come with conditions, and family should never confuse gratitude with entitlement. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who believes parents deserve love, respect, and appreciation, not ultimatums. And always remember, the day people stop taking your kindness for granted is often the day they finally understand your true value. The end.